I always try to debate with myself, like, why is this such a hard problem to solve? Because we have the studies, we have the research, we have the books, we know who some of the great leaders out there are. Like, it seems like we have the tools and the resources that we need to solve this problem, to create great leaders, and that, you would think that by now, all the organizations, the majority of leaders there would be great, we would love working with them and for them, and everything would be amazing. Yet year after year, regardless of how much we beat people over the head with this kind of stuff, we don't see that much progress or change. And why do you think this is such a difficult problem to solve?
Well, the $64,000 question, isn't it? I think that for mine, what happens with a lot of people is that they avoid the work of leadership because some of the things you have to do go very much against the grain, against the programming that's in our DNA.
Yeah.
Let me stick with conflict aversion, which I mentioned before. This is a classic example. As a leader, you have to become comfortable with conflict. And being conflict averse, I think, is the number one career killer, because if you can't handle that, it affects everything you do.
Yep.
So how do you actually get better at that? You've got to make the choice. You've got to make the choice to willingly step into conflict situations until they start to feel more comfortable. I talk about it like learning to ski in powder snow. Now, being Australian yourself, Jacob, you'd know that in Australia, what we call skiing, most years in North America, you would call downhill ice skating. And so I learnt to ski on very, very hard packed surfaces. Now, when I went to Colorado and I'm skiing in Aspen, in thigh deep powder, I had no idea what I was doing. And it didn't matter that I had an instructor standing there next to me with all the knowledge, telling me where to put the weight on my skis, the inside ski, the outside ski, and when to turn and how to position my weight. Didn't matter. I just had to do enough of it until it started to feel okay. That's it. I just had to do enough of it until I felt comfortable with it. Now, as we know, it's a lot easier to develop bad habits than it is to develop good habits.
Yeah.
And leadership, to a large extent, is about pushing yourself to do the things that help you to develop those good habits. And as I say to a lot of my clients, don't worry about it. You will get comfortable with it. It's only the first 200 or 300 conversations that are hard. After that, it just becomes really easy. So it's pushing yourself to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But look, if you go to the gym, right, you're trying to build up muscle mass.
Yeah.
If you give up in the first 2 weeks, you're not going to get anywhere. You've got to push through that pain while it feels uncomfortable and you're not seeing results to get to the point where you do. That's all there is to it. They are things that you need to do to improve and become better, and there are practical steps to doing that. So if you want to be better at giving one-on-one feedback and getting into those difficult conversations and having that conflict where you face it willingly, where do you start? Well, it's 90% will and 10% skill. So you better start with getting your head around it. And I give a number of psychological frames to look through to say, this is the sort of thing you need to hold on to give yourself the motivation to do that thing, to step into that willingly when you're afraid or anxious or uncertain about what the outcome is. You've got to find a way to get over that. So start thinking about the other person. That's probably not a bad place to start. Don't rob them of an opportunity to improve just because you're afraid. And so there are a number of different frames, tools, questions, techniques that help you to develop these things if you apply them rigorously. And still, many people with this knowledge won't apply them rigorously because we're human.